So I'm talking about Eliot. So far as we are human, what we do must be either evil or good. So far as we do evil or good, we are human, and it is better, in a paradoxical way, to do evil than to do nothing. At least we exist. This is a quote from Eliot when he's writing about Baudelaire, and the idea of this quote is very much expressed in his poetry, in The Hollow Men, in Prufrock, and particularly in The Wasteland, in which he creates a world where so many are walking around dead and unconscious of their surroundings. The Wasteland is T.S. Eliot's attempted farewell at all that has come before him. Subsequently, it's his realization that it's impossible to depart with the beauties and the burdens of the past. Also, it's impossible to unite these stories from our ancestors in a coherent manner. The only possibility is the futile and fragmented act of reassembling odd snippets of conversations between awkward lovers and morsels of memories of descending down a mountain on a sled. The words of great authors attempt to support these desperate times, but in the murky brown fog of modernity, these well-grounded texts cannot prevent humanity's descent from the freedom of the mountains to the empty abyss of the 20th century. When looking at The Wasteland, there are two important aspects that must be considered. Firstly, there's temporality, the way time is, the way time manifests itself, and secondly, there's repetition. When we're looking at time, firstly, we must look at this poem in relation to all that has come before it, the relationship of the poem to the rest of the Western canon. Secondly, we must look at time structures existent within the poem. So firstly, Eliot has done some stealing or borrowing or inheriting. If you look through the footnotes, you can see he's been borrowing from all sorts of places, from Dante, from Fleur du Mal, from Antony and Cleopatra, The Tempest, Middleton, Augustine, all sorts of different places. And so what he's creating here is a dialogue between the past and the present. Traditional temporality has it that the past becomes the present and the present becomes the future, and the past influences the present and the present influences the future. And this is very much a concept that I according to my thoughts, Eliot is trying to challenge. Eliot is saying that normally we assume there are two voices involved in the dialogue between the past and the present, and through the character of Tiresias, Eliot is challenging this dichotomy, and in a sense he's destroying this dichotomy. Tiresias incorporates the whole and the particular. He is man and woman, he is other and self, and he melts into other characters during the course of the poem, just like a stick of butter would melt into a batter for a cake mixture. When we see the crowd flowing over the London Bridge, this crowd is not distinct from the crowd gathered around the tumid river in The Hollow Men, and this crowd is not distinct from the long train of people seen by Dante in the Inferno. Phoebus is not distinct from the Gentile or the Jew. Just as Picasso attempted to unify the motion of one body at two separate points in time, Eliot what he's doing here is he's unifying the characters from Homer's time with the women who wash their feet in soda water, and he's depending heavily on intertextuality to achieve this effect of different periods of time melting into each other through poetry. When it comes to repetition, we see in the second section this repetition of question marks, repeated punctuation. Each question mark is weighing down with a horrid and ambiguous anxiety. What are you thinking of? Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? This anxiety is caused by this constant downwards motion. This is reflected in each man who's fixed upon his feet that once stood at a hart at Moorgate, feet that belong to rats and walk over broken glass in the Hollow Men, muddy feet that press to early morning coffee stands and preludes. This synecdoche separates man from the two limbs that move him. And of course, man is always moving. He's constantly moving, but he's dead while he's moving, or he's unconscious while he's moving. He's not engaging with his surroundings or his environment. He's accepting the world as it is and accepting this emptiness without engaging or without thinking about what's around him. The voice on the radio or from the bar is urging Lil's acquaintance and everyone to hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time. And this order, these aggressive capital letters, they're not even registered by Lil, who's talking with a notable rapidity. So it's not. She doesn't even have to hurry up. But even once it is registered, it's accepted as being so normal, so perfectly natural. Of course it's time to continue this meaningless motion, this meaningless pattern of movement across London Bridge and up Queen Victoria Street. It's so unconfronted. It's engraved in our habits and our minds. We jump from place to place, from visual imagery to visual imagery, and we fail to acknowledge how distracted we are. And this is an idea that's very much coming across in his poetry. There's an emptiness about the way we're living, and again, it's us failing to acknowledge what's around us, and us failing to think critically. We're in ruins, and we don't even acknowledge it.